Hey guys, what is going on? It is me, BikiriBox12 here, and welcome back to another guide. Well, actually today it's going to be a little bit different. It is a guide video. Today I will be talking about an entire idea that I have some tips on. However, it's going to be done in the style of more of a discussion video in which I'm just going to talk and ramble on about something and hope that the words I say are relevant and that they stick together. Obviously, I'll edit stuff out that isn't very cohesive, but overall, you guys should treat this video like it's a podcast. First of all, if you're new to the channel, welcome. It's great to have you here. For those longtime viewers, then you know that this kind of thing is kind of normal on this channel, doing guide videos. But for once, I decided to combine the guide and the discussion video together because I honestly cannot figure out a proper way to tell you guys this other than just letting the words pour out. So without further ado, let us begin. Today we're going to be talking about how to max a character. The proper, well, not necessarily proper, but the steps that I would take to max a character. Not necessarily 8-8, not 6-8, not 4-8, no specific number of maxing. How to get the pots necessary to max a character. What qualities that you should possess and what steps you could take in order to achieve success. And I'll talk about a few different ideas, talk about what I think you should do based on what I did whenever I was a new player. Obviously, times have changed in the past couple of years, so what I used to do is nowhere near the same as what you could do now, so I'll be sure to keep all ideas open for discussion, and everything will just hopefully flow right on together. Okay, so the first thing that I have to say to you, if you've been playing Realm of the Mad God for under a month, you shouldn't even be considering maxing a stat yet. If you don't know what maxing a stat is and you wanted to click on this video just to find out what that was, essentially every character in the game has 8 stats: life, mana, attack, def, dex, speed, wisdom, and vitality. And you can max out these stats by drinking potions of that certain type. And eventually, once you drink enough, you can't drink anymore, and that stat has become maxed, a maxed stat. That's what we mean whenever 6-8 and 8-8. You have 8 out of the 8 stats maxed, and you can't go beyond any more. So essentially, your character is the best he can be. Everyone maxes, well, not every character, but every rogue maxes the same as every other rogue. It's not random. The stats that you get upon level 20 is random, though, so that can vary and make your journey easier depending whether or not you got a higher attack buff from level 20 than the other guy. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. For those of you who are just starting out or are still fairly new to the game and you just want to get used to the mechanics and you're super excited because you got that, horror staff and you got level 20 for the first time, maxing a stat should be the last thing on your mind right now. I recommend getting used to the controls. The control in this game is essential, especially if you have a lot of lag. Oh my god. The lag input on this game is atrocious at times. If you have a really good computer and good internet connection, it shouldn't be a problem, and depending on what you play on, whether it's Flash Player, Steam, or the browser, it's all different. I play on Steam just because that's the best for me because of my computer and my internet connection. It could be different. It varies from person to person. So if you guys want to go take a look at my tips on how not to die in this game, I did make a guide on that. If you've already seen that, well then, hey, I got nothing left to say there. So yeah, the controls are the basis of a video game. If you can't master the controls, you can't master the game. So please, whenever I say get the controls down, I really do mean that. It's near essential if you want to max a class, because if you max a character and you don't know the controls, how are you going to use that character to his fullest? You know what I'm getting at here? All right, hopefully I'm not just rambling on and not making any sense. But say you have been playing for a good amount of time now, a few months, maybe 3 or 4, and you're thinking, hey, you know what? I've heard about these potions and I've been getting some from Godlands farming. What do I do? Where do I go from here? How do I max out a stat without being, super afraid to do everything? Because maxing a stat can be really invigorating, but at the same time, kind of scary and nerve-wracking, because if you max out a stat or start drinking potions and then you die on that character, you're going to get that feeling in your mind of, wow, I just wasted my time. I did all of that. I got all of those pots for nothing. Now my character's dead. This sucks. You know what I'm saying? Trust me, I know that feeling all too well. drinking pots, drinking 10 def on a wizard, and then dying because I didn't take my time in the dungeon, or I just wasn't careful, and so I died. So, let me see here. The steps that you should take to maxing a character. Again, number 1, master the controls, get really down with it. Second, find a character that you're comfortable with. Experiment with all of the characters. Unlock every single class in the game before you start maxing a class. That will give you the proper experience with all the controls. No, well, actually, not just controls, but the mechanics in general. Finding out, Paralyze is really good. I could utilize this in this way. Or, the Wizard's Spell Bomb is a good way of getting DPS, but the Knight's Stun is really nice too, because then you're safe once you go in melee. Or, I don't like the melees that much because they're too low ranged and I don't feel safe. You want to get a feel for the game. You want to be comfortable. And comfortability, again, is all about control. You want the best control in a game possible. Heck, if Realm could have... Actually, I have seen this before where you can hook up an Xbox 360 controller to Realm and you can play like that. That was a sight to see. I will say that right now. I don't know how he did it. Probably just some third-party downloading software, something like that. But if I could get my PS3 controllers working here, that would be a trip. That would be really incredible. But anyway, once you've established a good connection with the controls and found a character that fancies you, where do you go from there? What do you do? Again, I think that you should get the fundamentals down with the game. Use that character. Learn. Absorb everything around you. Find out what pots drop from which dungeons. Know that a wisdom pot can drop from a UDL and from a Mad Lab. Know that a speed pot drops from the snake pit. Know that certain gods drop certain dungeons. The ghost god drops the undead lair. Start getting familiar with that. You can either look all of this stuff up on a Realm Eye, or you can just learn from playing the game. And that's the best advice I can give you guys in this entire video. All in one word: experience. If you guys can get proper experience with the game, you can become pros with enough hard work. I'm not kidding. If you want to put enough work into this game, you can become pros. It's as easy as that. Hard work equals pro. You will become better. I believe in you. I know it too. How do you think everybody else got to this point? Luck? Heck no. That's not what this game's about. It's about trial and error and perfecting yourself. We all know that perfection is very subjective, and in fact it's impossible, but it's that desire to become more than what we are, to better ourselves, and that's what perfection is, to be without flaw, and we want to get as close to without flaw as we can, because once we achieve that, then we won't die, and that's the whole purpose of this game. But since that whole idea is, complete BS, you can't be perfect and all that, we strive for it. And it's that strive that gives us the desire to win. We want to win. We want to get good at Realm. And if you can keep that desire, you can become good. Anyway, that was an expanded thought. So now here you are. You've got your perfectly comfortable character. You've got the controls down. You know the fundamentals of Realm. Where do you go now? What do you do? Well, my advice. In fact, I'm telling you right now, what I think is the most important thing to do. Whenever you want to max a stat for the very first time, you go for defense. Defense is the most important stat in my opinion, because it creates this sense of security. It's a cushion for error, because with low defense, if you take one hit, you take a lot of damage. I mean a lot. A Medusa one shot does about 135 damage. Oh my god, how much health do you have? Maybe 600? Alright, that's over, 4 more of those and, you're gonna die. That's not fun. You don't want to be stuck in this area of, oh my god, I gotta run from this thing that I could easily kill, but I don't want to die. You want to get away from that. Maxing out your defense helps you get away from that. Again, it's a cushion for error, because if you're stuck in that realm of, oh my god, this thing's gonna kill me, then you're dealing with unnecessary stress that does not make the game fun. You play video games to have fun, right? I hope so, unless, looking for a challenge. Well, this is the game for you. You don't want that stress. Defense gets rid of that stress. It lets you make mistakes without feeling bad about it. Oh my god, I took a shotgun from a Medusa, got a Nexus, and go all the way back. God, I hate this game. That's not what we want to achieve. Although we all have to go through it, it's not forever. It's only temporary. It's only in the beginning, because if a game's not hard, what does it teach you? What does it teach you about its mechanics? You know what I'm saying? I mean, a game can be easy and fun, like Animal Crossing or something like that. I don't know. Whatever floats your boat, man. But you guys are probably all wondering about the big question. How do I get these potions? Not what do I need. I know what I need. I want defense, and I'm good with the controls, but I just can't get the defense. What do I do? All right. This is kind of a jump in difficulty, I would say, but in order to get defense potions, you have a few options. The first option that, well, I used to do all the time is Godlands farming. Killing beholders and leviathans, and is there one more? There's one more, I think. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But beholders and leviathans all drop defense potions upon killing. Godlands farming is the process of killing gods in the center of the map. You go all the way to the center of the map, and there they are, the strongest monsters besides event gods in the realm. And they do tons of damage, and they also drop good rewards. They can drop up to what is it? I think it's tier 8 weapons, tier 4 abilities, and tier 9 armor, and then tier 4 rings. So if you farm Godlands long enough, you could eventually get pretty good equipment too. So if you want to know how to get good equipment for your maxed character eventually, farm Godlands. The only problem with this is that it's incredibly tedious and it takes forever. Now, if you're the kind of type that doesn't mind mindless and monotonous farming, then this won't bother you because you'll just sit in Godlands for hours just farming away and, oh, hey, I got a pot, awesome. And that little reward is enough to keep you going. And if so, congrats, man. You certainly have, a higher attention span than I do because I couldn't stand it. So that's the first method. Farm Godlands for defense potions or for other potions, and then you can go to random servers and message people saying, hey, I'll sell you, 4 speed for 1 defense potion, and you can trade with people. Do a good old-fashioned barter, but that's not as reliable. The second step, which is the one that I do almost always, is abysses. The Abyss of Demons, which drops from the Medusa, the green-haired god in Godlands. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. The Abyss of Demons is a mid-tier dungeon. It's hard. It's hard to solo, especially, if you're unmaxed. One false move, if you go into a room with a bunch of enemies, you could die very easily. I mean, the enemies do a lot of damage. I do plan on making an Abyss Guide video in the future, but as of now, you're watching this video here and now, and you're not going to go wait for a video to watch that and then come back and finish this one. That's pointless. That's stupid. So what do you do here? For the Abyss of Demons, you just gotta... how do I even describe this? There's a lot of waiting. There's a lot of stop and go with this game in the beginning. If you want to be like, oh man, I want to do this now, I want to max my stat now, I'm sorry, that's just not the case. Realm is a very patient-oriented game. You need a lot of patience. You need a lot of it. And if you don't have patience, this might not be your game. But if you can push past it, you might find great rewards. Killing enemies and finding loot, getting loot from enemies, and just that reward, seeing that white bag for the first time. If you don't know what a white bag is, well, you don't? No, I'm kidding. A white bag is just it's a really high tier item. It's really good, essentially. It's a bag that drops only you can see it, and it's white, and it holds really valuable items, to put it lightly. So Abyss of Demons are a hard dungeon, and the only thing I can say is put on a test character. Like, make a second character, get him level 20, put on, alright gear or something. If you're not fortunate enough to have alright gear, well, this is all part of the game, trial and error. You just gotta go for it. And if you die, well, so be it. That's gonna happen. I mean, you can't get stronger if you don't take a hit. You're gonna die. You need to die in order to learn. It's as the saying goes. It's, why do we make mistakes? To learn from them. This game is that. Realm of the Mad God is trial and error, the game. You got Godlands farming, Abysses, and the third and final one is Oryx the Mad God. Oh yeah. You can get death pots from like other mini bosses like the Abomination in the Mad Lab, but that's dungeon. Like do Abysses is the same topic as do a dungeon. Oryx is a little bit different. Oryx closes the realm whenever, you destroy all of his events and all of his minions and all that. and then you get teleported to his castle, and Oryx himself drops many good things. There's 2 Oryxes, Oryx 1 and then Oryx 2. I made guides on both of them too if you want to check those out. I don't know, maybe have a good old time. I don't know, if you want to learn something, go for it. But he drops some pretty good loot, and defense pots included, but you have to close the realm and wait for it. I wouldn't recommend waiting for Oryx to close the realm. I would say if he closes the realm, oh, good, I can go to Oryx now. Like, just don't bank on it. Don't be like, all right, let's just wait for Oryx. I'm going to get a soda while I wait. You don't want that. You want to be productive. You want to be doing abysses. The realm closes, do Oryx, go back, maybe farm some godlands. In fact, that's the exact order you should do it. Farm up godlands, kill gods, maybe get a death pot, and then once you've killed the god that drops the abyss of demons, go into the abyss, get the death, come out. Oh, the realm's closed. Let's go to Oryx. That's a good method. And again, this all becomes easier with experience. With every single defense pot that you get, it only becomes easier. Now, you can do one of 2 things once you get enough death. You can either drink them one by one once you get them, or you can wait until you have all 25 to max. Unless you're playing Paladin, who needs 30, and Knight, who needs 40. I mean, if you have it, great. Knight's a fantastic class upon max. I mean, really, he's good. If you want to make him your first, go for it. But if you're maxing your stats one by one, that is really risky because if you have a bunch of death saved up in your vault, you have like 10 and you've been drinking them, if you die because you're not at maximum defense, you're going to be like, well, shoot, I wasted everything. Dang it. Why did I do that? And then whenever you die, you would think, oh man, I really wish I had those death pots saved up. So it's your call on that. If you want to wait until you have 25 death, go for it. But then play on a character that isn't valuable. Like, don't put really good gear on a character that you just want to farm with to get the pots. You want to make just a BS character a throwaway character that you don't care about. In fact, another method for farming and getting pots is 1, get a character that is your farming character, the character that you just, sit around, farm away, blah, 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 oh, I got a pot, blah, blah, blah. And then your other character is the one that you max out. You farm with one character and max the other one with the pots that you get from the first character. That way, whenever you max out that character, you can start maxing out your first character, and now, boom, you have 2 maxed characters. Easier said than done, I know, believe me. But still, these are the steps that you have to take. I know all of this might seem, oh yeah, it sounds simple, but once you go out and do it, it's hard. Believe me, I know. I really do, and I'm trying to simplify it as much as I can, and whenever I do that, I think it makes it sound so simple that it almost sounds easy, but that's not the truth. This game takes a long time to master, and it takes patience. Again, patience and hard work. If you have both of those qualities at all, and you're rewarded, and you feel pleasure and satisfaction from things like, oh yeah, I got this really good item from this boss that I took down with my friend, then this is the game for you. By all means, do it. And maybe you don't think that you're that kind of person, but you want to give it a shot anyway, go for it. Please, give the game a chance. I don't want you to turn down something just because I'm telling you, oh, if you're this kind of person. No. Don't listen to me. Come on. So that's how you get death pots. Death pots are, they're my favorite stat pot just because they're that cushion of safety again. And they're very handy and helpful. So let's say you finally get defense maxed out. What do? You can do one of 2 things. The method that I suggested, which was making a farming character and a potting up character. Once you have this other character potted up, pot up the second one. You can choose whether or not to use the newly maxed one to max out the other one, or use the farming character and continue to use him. Just use him to farm himself up. Yeah, that would be fine too. It's all preference at this point. And it's all whether or not you're comfortable with taking certain risks or not. The next stat that I would go for is speed. I know it might be a little bit weird. Some people might say vitality is better, but speed really does help your survival rate. And I'm going down the list. Of course, the way that I'm going to max a character is based on whether or not how easy it is to max. Like, the Knight needs 5 attack whenever he's level 20, so I would go for that first just because it's easy. But for survival, defense, then speed, and then vitality afterwards, that afterwards. Because speed increases how fast you move on the ground, which means you can avoid projectiles faster, you can run away from enemies faster. You see what I'm getting at? It's simple enough. Unfortunately, most characters need over 20 speed to max, so you're pretty much farming up the same number of speed as you were def, which can be annoying. And you're like, well, shoot, now I gotta go do all of that garbage again? I just did like 25 abysses and just shoot. I hate that. Luckily for you, your adventure will be much easier once you get def because you can do things a lot faster. You can do things a lot faster. In fact, you could even take the easy way out. You could farm up more def pots, keep on doing the abysses, and then sell the def for speed. And then once you have speed and def max, you can start rushing other dungeons. And if you've done enough abysses by that point, you're also getting vit. I should have mentioned this earlier, but a good way to max out a character is to bring a friend along. I mean, a friend that's either better than you or if you're starting out together to make the adventure more easy and not so tense. Like, shoot, all right, oh, no, I don't want to die. If your friend's that made sense. If your friend's with you there, he's like, telling you jokes, keeping it lighthearted, the adventure will go by faster and it won't seem so stressful. And I can definitely speak for this because I played Realm with people all the time. And I also played by myself, too, whenever they weren't on. And it was much more fun with people. And I didn't die either. You would think maybe being in a Skype call would be distracting, which, I guess it depends on your brain. But for the most part, I think it just makes you play better. You're not so worried and you're not so tense. Your hands are loose and, I'll take a little sip of my whatever, just my drink. All right, keep moving. It's very calm and it's very casual. And I think that that's the way you should play Realm. Don't take it so seriously, because that way whenever you die, you're not so upset about it. I've thought about making a video on how to deal with death, because I know how devastating it can be, and I think I will do that in the future, but I just wanted to touch on that for a sec, because dying really is a painful thing in this game. And if you get really attached to certain characters and your time, like me, you'll feel like somebody actually died. I know, that sounds stupid, like, it's a game, bro, calm down. I was 13. Or was I? I think I was like 15, actually. Oh my god, no, 14. I don't know. The point is, don't let this game get you down if you die. And don't let this game get you down if it's too hard in the beginning. If it's like, I'll never be good. No, come on, don't have that kind of attitude. Be positive. The positive energy emanating from you will reflect on you and back and all that crazy magic mirror mumbo jumbo, and you'll be a better man. You'll be a better player. You'll be the best player that you can be if you believe you can. Well, that was a pep talk and a half if I ever heard one. Anyway, so once you have those two stats maxed, again, I'd say go for Vit afterwards. And once you eliminate these stats one at a time, one by one, each and every one afterwards becomes much easier. Once you get def, speed's easier. Once you get speed, oh man, Vit is like already done. And now, okay, let's just do some wisdom. This is how you do it. And it all comes down to these 3 steps. Farming Godlands, or trading. Dungeons, or Oryx. I guess I should have worded that differently. I should have made that list different. Because the first one should be farming, and then dungeons, and then trading. That makes more sense. Those are the 3 steps, people. But as for like Realm, like, kill the gods. Kill the god that drops the dungeon. Go in the dungeon. Beat the boss at the end of the dungeon. Come out. Realm's closed. Go fight Oryx. Repeat. That's the cycle of farming. Hey, that's a good title. That's a good title for this video. No, I'm not calling it that, but it's a good title nonetheless. I guess I should mention some of the other dungeons that you could do to get the pots. Like, Mad Lab is a really good dungeon because there are 2 bosses in there. It's always 2 bosses. If you clear out the entire dungeon after defeating Dr. Terrible, or beforehand, whichever, and you just defeat all of the Tesla coils, the second boss room will open up once you've defeated Dr. Terrible. In fact, I think you might be able to open it up before he's dead. That I could be wrong though. It might be triggered by his death. But he drops a wisdom, also some really good items. And the Abomination, the second boss, also drops a def. So you have a chance to get 2 pots. 2 good ones at that. 1 def and 1 wisdom, but it's a little bit risky and it's time-consuming. It's a very time-consuming dungeon if you're going for the second boss, which is the more profitable one. Obviously, a Def is better than a Wisdom. I think we can all agree. But another dungeon that I think all new players should consider taking a look at is the Haunted Cemetery. It's been around for a little while now, and it's certainly not hard, especially if you have at least Def maxed. Unless you're soloing, the final boss can be a little bit difficult, but there are 4 bosses in that entire dungeon. 4 bosses means 4 chances to get loot. And they all drop Wisdom and Speed, except for the final one. He drops a Vit. Unfortunately, you can't get any Def here, but the fact that you have 4 opportunities to get loot makes it worth your while. Going with a big group, take your friends. Don't go with too big a group, because if you're not maxed on attack or dex, you can't get any loot. That's another thing I forgot to mention. Whenever you're done maxing all of the fail-safe stats, the ones that keep you alive, speed and def and vit and all, you want to go for the damage, because once you get the damage, now you can get drops, and drops in turn means more pots. More pots means you can make your characters faster, and the cycle continues, but it keeps getting faster, and the cycle keeps on spinning faster until eventually you got your character. Or you die, which I'm sorry if that happens, because it's going to happen. The game is actually stalling out the inevitable constantly. That's crazy, actually. I never thought of it that way before. Anyway, Haunted Cemetery, good dungeon. I recommend you all give it a shot. It's not too hard. Go with a few friends, but don't bring too many people, because you might not get a drop. That's my advice. That's what I have to say. Okay. Are we nearing the end here? Is that it? I covered a lot of things. Hopefully. Again, this is a ramble, so I'm not editing this. I'm not listening to it before I record the rest. I think that's it. Once you max all of your stats, just be careful and max up another character. Again, it just takes time. Abysses are your friend. If you want to play it safe and just do abysses, by all means, go for it. It might get boring after a while, and if you want to switch it up, that's your risk. If you want to, because changing what you're used to might come off as a surprise. Like maybe you want to go take on one of the many event gods that spawns in the realm, because they have a chance to drop def too. Event gods, yeah. Like a Skull Shrine, you want to run up, maybe spellbomb it a few times, go for it. But you're running a risk because you don't do it very often, so you might be out of practice. And I don't want you to die because you're out of practice. That would be terrible. And you might feel stupid about it, like, shoot, I never should have done that. And regret is one of the worst feelings you can have in this game. Because, one, there's nothing you can do about it. I died. That's it. You gotta move on. And that is the hardest thing to do, I think, for me. I mean, heck, moving on from anything. Get a bad grade in school. You say something stupid in front of a bunch of people, and you're like, I wish I never did that. Like, well, don't say that, because you can't undo it. Just move on and forget about it. Anyway, this is what I think. These are the steps that I would take to maxing a character. Now, this is very basic, and if you're better at the game, you probably already knew this, but this is for those people that just weren't quite sure and they wanted to see it all mapped out, even though there were no visuals in this video, unfortunately. But like I said, this is somewhat of a podcast and a ramble, so I feel like, I don't know, it was better this way. Anyway, I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, don't forget to check out the next episode whenever I post it, which will probably be soon. All right. See ya.